Hi, everyone. It's Todd Bishop from GeekWire here with a quick bonus episode featuring Trevor Noah, the former Daily Show host, comedian, author, and podcast host, who also serves as Microsoft's Chief Questions Officer. I sat down with him Monday morning after he led a class for Code.org's Hour of AI during Computer Science Education Week at Ardmore Elementary School in Bellevue, Washington. We talked about AI, education, and the future of a profession near and dear to his heart, comedy. Hope you enjoy. Well, that was fun.
That was good.
Yeah, it was good. I could tell you were really having fun. So you're here at Ardmore Elementary School in Bellevue, Washington, home of the Eagles.
Right.
So it's a long way from Maryvale.
Yes.
Right? Which is the primary school that you attended in South Africa as a kid. Why is this something that's important for you to take part in? And I can tell you were really engaged. Like, how is it informed by your own experience growing up as a kid when you come back to a school like this?
Fundamentally, I always feel like kids have an advantage that we don't as adults, and that is they are born into technologies that we have to learn, right? And I always think if we can get them understanding the technology on an almost molecular level, then they will do things with it that we couldn't possibly imagine, you know? So it's this interesting inflection point in tech now where AI is a new tool. When we don't fully understand the extent of what the tool will or won't be, you know, there's conversations that go from, you know, this supercomputer, super intelligence, all the way through to just like a standard tool, you know, like a search engine or the internet, something that could improve your life. And so for me, I think giving as many kids the opportunity to be part of that revolution is important so that when they step into the world, they're not now one step behind where the world has moved to. And I think we saw that with computer literacy. You know, kids who understood just what a computer was and how to use it, their lives were dramatically different than the kids who didn't. And so for me, it's as simple as that. It's just having everyone on the same playing field. In terms of coming to a school like this, it's just fun, you know. The kids are random. They don't know who I am, so I have a lot of fun with that.
I was going to say that, you know, you're a celebrity to many of the adults
Oh,
here.
yeah, no, kids don't know me at all, which I love.
Yeah, they're not like late night Comedy Central viewers from, you know, 10 years ago.
It's my favorite thing ever.
So does it change your approach, and how do you engage when, you know, you don't have that?
I actually like it more because then I just get to engage with them honestly and, you know, with a filter that is as genuine as it could be. So they aren't responding to me because of celebrity, and I'm not responding to them from a position of celebrity. It's just us in a room. And so if they make a joke, I'll make a joke. And if I make a joke, they laugh or they don't laugh. But there's no expectation. They don't even know who I am or why I'm there, or you know what I mean?
Yes, but I think your advantage is, I mean, you genuinely are interested in the technology.
Oh, yeah.
When it was time for them to ask you questions, you asked them questions about how to do the thing that you were trying to do.
Right.
You were trying to learn. I mean, and I was watching you up there at the computer, like you were trying to figure it out.
Oh, yeah, but I think that's the thing that we take for granted is we are all kids in the age of AI. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
This isn't the kind of situation where adults have a leg up on kids. I would argue most adults in the world are behind kids when it comes to AI, in the same way that adults were behind when it came to like a touchscreen device. You know, if you gave like a toddler a touchscreen device a few years ago, they were leaps and bounds ahead of people who had grown up with physical buttons their entire lives, because this technology was all they had seen, and so they just started using it. So what I'm enjoying in the classroom there, and what I think I'm always looking for in spaces of education, is a world where we also ask the learners to be part of the solution, and we don't just present the solutions to them. You know what I mean? So for me, I see their eyes light up when I ask them questions, when I'm struggling, when I'm trying to figure a thing out. Then they're with me. Otherwise, it's just like rote memorization and delivering of answers, you know?
Yes. You also spoke with teachers from the Bellevue School District before you went into the classroom, and I could tell that there were a lot of questions about the ability to make sure students are learning things. The calculator analogy was used. Like, what did you take away from the discussion with the teachers?
So I think the biggest thing I took away was that there is a valid concern from teachers in and around whether or not AI will erase what we consider learning to be, you know? And I appreciated seeing that, because it's nice to know that teachers actually care about, you know, the kids' cognitive development or their critical thinking or how they approach the world. I also saw a valid level of confusion and you know, even a certain level of just being mystified. What is this thing? What is it supposed to be? How does it affect what I teach them? Am I even teaching them the right thing for the future? And I always think a good teacher is somebody who continues to ask themselves questions, doesn't assume that they know, and then themselves tries to keep on learning. So that's definitely something that I took away from that, is how we have to do a better job of answering the teachers' questions so that they can do a better job of teaching the learners as we move forward with this technology. Because if, you know, you read about it all the time in the workplace, but you even see it in the education space. If the people who are tasked with instructing haven't bought in or don't have a deeper understanding for themselves, then I think it'll be a half-hearted approach. It'll be something that always faces unnecessary hurdles. But the questions they ask, I think, are valid, you know, and that's, you know, even when I talk to the team at Microsoft, you know, whether it's Brad and Caroline and everyone who's running this project, I always say to them, remember, because nobody knows what AI is and how it's going to work, you have to take as many questions and suggestions from the consumer/customer as you would give, because we're all in the developmental stage together, which is rare for a technology when you think about it. It's very seldom that a technology goes out into the world before people know how to use that technology fully.
Yeah. I've got one AI question related to your core competency, which
for sure.
I would say comedy in some ways, in listening and asking questions. But you said humor processes pain and makes people feel seen through vulnerability. It's rooted in contradiction and human reality. It's kind of the opposite of a mass prediction machine in some ways.
Yeah, it is.
So is comedy the last career safe from AI and automation?
I'll be honest with you. I think almost every career is safe. I think the real question we have to ask is which aspect of the career becomes more human-centric and which parts sort of fall away. You know, so if I think of the legal profession, a lot of the legal profession has been people reciting tort law and going back and finding examples. But you find a lot of that can be done by AI. Then you find the human in the loop becomes somebody who's more tasked with being creative and understanding how that law applies to a case that they're working on. Right. I think the same goes for almost every industry. And so I think comedy is as safe as the comedian who's doing it, because I think it just makes you understand what you're doing slightly differently, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So maybe up until AI, I would have thought the most important part of being a comedian would be how you write your material. But now I might think to myself, oh, maybe the most important part of being a comedian is knowing how to dynamically respond to the audience that's in front of you. You know, or maybe it's understanding how what you do applies to different groups of people, or understanding. I think it's constantly evolving and it's constantly changing. So, you know, I've loved studying comedy, and I remember a time, it was long before I was even alive, but comedy just used to be who could remember the most jokes. Yeah. And everyone told the same jokes. Right. And that's what a comedian was, is somebody who remembered the most jokes. Yeah. And over time that evolved and it evolved and it evolved and it evolved. And so as long as we understand that the evolution isn't fixed, I don't think there's a finite level of like jobs and employment, because all jobs and employment are sort of imagined.
Yeah.
You know, and they didn't exist before the technologies that accompany them exist in the way that we know them.
Yep. So at the Microsoft Elevate event back in October, you talked about coding an AI agent, and you talked about doing it for 6 hours a day.
Oh, yeah,
I
love it. I love it.
But you didn't say what you were making.
Oh, I'm just making a bunch of. So some of the things I'm making are like automation. Some of them are designing systems that fully automate, like, you know, the collecting of a show that I'm doing.
I was going to ask, so you're using AI in the process of prepping for your podcasts?
No, but more like I'll do it now. Let's say with stand-up, it'll be transcription, posterity, just keeping everything in one central archive, understanding where I was, what was happening, what's going on, something that's easily searchable. Some of the other things I'm playing with are literally apps and ideas that I just have for the world. So I go, what could be an interesting home automation app, or what could be, for my phone, for instance, it started with just shortcuts, like the things that your phone can do when you learn what the shortcuts are, which is a primitive form of coding.
Yeah.
If this, then that, and that, etc. And I've just been playing with that and trying to understand what I could sort of create. Like automated systems are my favorite. My favorite idea to play with.
And then just lastly, what message would you want the students and the teachers to walk away from this day with, big picture from their interactions with you, and also the Hour of AI and AI Education Week?
I think it's really two things, which I think the learners intuitively understand. And that is, if you're not having fun exploring it, you might not understand the value of it. You might, what I enjoyed seeing in the room is how quickly the kids got engrossed in the task at hand, which was making a bug beat another bug in what seems like a simple idea. And then them slowly trying to get to a place where they wanted to figure out how to make that thing work. Watching them enjoy the randomization and the winning, and then slowly get to a place where they were no longer happy with that, and then watch them tinkering and start, throwing numbers in. I like that, and I think the biggest thing I'd love for all of us, not just the kids, to walk away from it with is just an unbridled curiosity. Keep being curious, keep having fun with it, and keep enjoying the fact that you don't know.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. See the show notes for a link to my GeekWire story about Hour of AI, Computer Science Education Week, and Trevor Noah's guest teaching stint at Ardmore Elementary. We'll be back this weekend with a new episode of the GeekWire podcast.